Hey, good morning. I'm doing this in the sun today. Bright, sunny Las Vegas. I'm back here, and I just wanted you to see this view. Hopefully, you can see it because I actually can't. It's so sunny right now. I can't even see my screen. So I'm pretty sure we're live. Kind of crazy going from the snow to the sun, and it's so warm here today, I don't even need a jacket. Anyway, alright, let's get to the topic in the episode. So, if anyone comes on, and I don't see you, I apologize. I'm not really seeing my screen right now. So, and I also forgot my headset. I decided at the last minute to come out and do this in a scenic location. So, alright, so another episode of Moving Forward with Hope, Happiness, and Heart. Today we're going to talk about toxic talk. Maybe you have somebody in your life that has toxic language, and maybe you have not thought about it that way. Maybe you use it yourself sometimes. I think that if you pay attention, you'll notice that the kind of language that you're around and that you use on a daily basis has like an energy around it. Like you'll feel different energy with different people, and sometimes it's even different with the same person depending on their mood, and often the language that they use. So, maybe you have, okay, so a couple of things here. First of all, you might be using language that is toxic. Are you getting super upset about things that happen and, kind of vent or throw a verbal tantrum or a fit? I mean, maybe that's not how you're thinking of it if it's happening. And I'm not saying that every once in a while just stuff starts to stack up and get to you and you kind of vent and have that, maybe the little bit of a pressure cooker release, or is it something that you're doing constantly? And the words you use really make a difference. Are you using positive, loving words, or are you using a negative word? This kind of goes beyond the glass is half empty or the glass is half full also. It's more, what kind of emotions do the words that you're using trigger? So kind of start to pay attention to that for yourself and see what, maybe journal about it, take some notes, at the end of the day, or maybe even throughout the day. You can just write something down, or put it in a notepad on your phone or something, and get an idea of what kind of language you're using, because we're so used to it that we don't even notice it. And that comes into play also when you're around people. They might be using language that you're just so used to, and then when you really pay attention to it, you realize how toxic it is and how limiting and debilitating to hear, something really negative over and over and over. Like, for example, if a kid or anybody does something and another person says, oh, how could you do something like that? That's so stupid. Or you're so stupid. Even if you don't say you're stupid and that's stupid, it can come off, especially when that's a constant theme. And maybe it's not even that same word, but it's something similar. That if it keeps on happening all the time, it just starts to get, it's basically a brainwashing, repetition, constant repetition. People start to believe what they hear all the time. So if you hear something, even if you consciously know, oh, well, he called me stupid, or she called me stupid, and I know I'm not stupid. It's actually worse for kids because they don't have the ability to step back and say, yeah, I think that's just about you. They take what you say really to heart. So this is a, kind of a blanket thing for, you to pay attention to the words that you're using, for you to pay attention to the words that the people who are around you are using, and ask yourself, hey, is this like feeding my soul and my joy, or is this, kind of taking away from it? Sometimes I call that, we call that like an energy vampire, someone who's just sucking your energy, maybe because they're negative, whether they're complaining about something that doesn't have anything to do with you, or if it's directed at you. Either way, it can still be toxic. So if you're just around somebody all the time who complains all the time, you can start to pick up some of that. You're gonna pick that up, and even if you are aware of it, you might pick it up. But there's some things that you could do. Obviously the first most obvious solution, it would be to stay away from people like that. I also understand that sometimes that's not possible. Maybe it's a coworker and you don't really have an option except for to leave your job, which maybe you don't really want to do. So it's just balancing, what's more important. And there's definitely no right answer, because I'm not going to say leave your job because there's a toxic, coworker. So you have to learn tools to deal with that kind of thing too. And meditation can be helpful, and just not letting yourself get triggered by it, so that not letting yourself become triggered by what's going on with other people. Like recognizing that, okay, they're using that language, it's very unpleasant to be around, I don't like it, although I know that I'm not taking it personally because it really has nothing to do with me. And that's the case whether it's directed towards you specifically or not. If hey, you know what, I don't agree with that, so that's about you, it's your opinion. But also, if someone is just complaining constantly about anything in life around you or to you, that can affect you. And you can just say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to take this on, so you don't take it on. And of course, that's the starting point. That's what you need to do. Now, how do you actually really ingrain that goes beyond what we're talking about today, but just know that if it doesn't automatically, magically, I've been trying this, but it's not working. I've been trying to say, I'm not going to take that on, but it's just not working. Don't think that. Just, you got to keep going, and you got to find some deeper tools to address that. So don't give up is what I'm saying. And, next point is to if you have someone that is around you all the time, and you are finding yourself taking on that energy, let's share with us what you're doing, what that situation is, if you want to, or just keep it general. Say it, hey, I'm around this negative person who says this kind of stuff all the time, and here's what I did about it, or here's what I want to do about it. Or if you have any questions, then feel free to ask, and maybe I can coach you through that. Alright, so what else can you do if you are around someone who uses a lot of toxic talk? I think I already said meditation. Maybe I didn't. Okay. So definitely some kind of, you can kind of meditate to tune it out, to like override it in your brain with something else, so that you're just like, something that I do if I find myself around somebody like that is I just start meditating, and going within and just focusing on love and light, and just bringing all that love and bringing that love and light, bringing God's love and light into the space that's around me and that's around the person who's being negative, to help with just that vibe in the room. And it's interesting because it seems like just doing that sometimes works, and you don't even have to say anything to the other person. And another reason why that might work is because if you don't engage with somebody who's doing that, you're not feeding it, and you're not letting it continue on. You're just kind of letting them burn themselves out on it. So if you react, if you let yourself be triggered by that, and whatever they're saying, even if it's just, hey, you know what, that's unpleasant. There are some people that I'm around, that I'm close enough to, that I'll say, yeah, nobody really wants to hear that right now, or something like that, because I know that that person can hear that and say, oh, I am being super negative right now. I am being kind of toxic right now, and they can recognize that. So if you have somebody who already, is open to that change themselves, then maybe you can, work out what to say to that person, and or just be like, you know what, I don't really want to be around this right now. It's kind of bringing me down. I'm gonna go for a walk, or I'm gonna, just do whatever, whatever the case. Or I'm just, I'm done with this conversation because it's kind of negative for me, it's bringing me down. And do it without like a lot of attachment to it, so that that person, because they're obviously in an irritated state when they're using that toxic talk. So you don't really want to exacerbate that, because it's not productive. So that actually kind of goes around my thoughts about setting boundaries and enforcing them. I think a lot of people, I'm just going to kind of mention this, but maybe I'll do a whole nother video about this. I think some people get a little too aggressive in enforcing their boundaries, and they think that that's okay because they're enforcing their boundaries. And it's like, sometimes I think that imposes on other people's boundaries, the way that some people tend to go about it when they don't really, when it's new. So, there's ways to enforce your boundaries that are tactful and that actually don't violate someone else's boundaries in return. Because if you're enforcing your boundaries, I think it's definitely a better way to do it, and more respectful to respect another person's boundaries at the same time, because otherwise you're being a hypocrite. You're like, my boundaries are more important than your boundaries are, and that's okay because you are violating my boundaries first. It's just like a really unproductive and kind of very conflicty way to handle it, I think. So anyway, I'll do a whole nother video on that maybe. Alright, so toxic talk, be aware of it for yourself. Maybe write some notes down. Be aware of it for people who are around you, and that doesn't mean that you have to say anything to them. You're just being aware for yourself so that you can choose what to do in that situation. Are you going to remove yourself from the situation? Are you going to avoid the person as much as possible? Or are you just going to, maybe let them know a little bit, like, in a very non-emotional, non-triggering way, that, oh, you know what, I'm not going to continue this conversation, thanks anyway, or, be kind about it, and, maybe if they're open, tell them why. But don't shove it down people's throats. Nobody likes that. It ends up being a big turnoff, and it causes more problems. Anyway, alright, so let me know what your thoughts, comments, and questions are on toxic talk, and I'll be happy to coach you through anything, and we'll see you very soon. Alright, see you tomorrow. Have a happy, wonderful day. Let's see if I can see where to end this.